The Honest Garage Podcast, where real shop owners tell real shop stories.
Today on the Honest Garage Podcast, we're talking with a shop owner who didn't get lucky, he got tough. Busted knuckles, a broken leg, a divorce, bad hires, and the kind of hard seasons that break most people. And he still chose growth. Our guest today is Shawn Gilfillan, owner of Automotive Magic and Magic Lube and Rubber in New Jersey. It's a smart two-brand setup. Automotive Magic handles the heavy repair work, and Magic Lube and Rubber owns the maintenance lane. Different focuses, but the same message: trust, professionalism, and relationships that last. Shawn's story starts way before the first official shop. His mom had a tool truck. Then his dad took over the tool business, and Shawn grew up handing wrenches to his dad in the garage, restoring old Corvettes, and fixing anything broken he could drag home. He started with bikes, small engines, and rentals, and then moved into his first real automotive job around 18 or 19 at Meineke and Midas, bouncing between shops and dealers while trying to find a place where the work actually lined up with his own values. Eventually, he stopped looking for that place and built it instead. In the prep call, Shawn talked about opening his first shop on April Fool's Day in 2003 with about 13 grand his dad lent him, 2 lifts, a pile of oil filters, and a massive amount of Cornwell credit for equipment. From there, he hired fast, learned hard, got humbled often, and started figuring out that building a business is a very different skill set than fixing cars. He also shared one of the biggest turning points in his life and his business, a devastating leg injury from a quad accident that left him in the hospital for weeks, bedridden for months, and then running the shop from home while his brothers stepped up to keep the doors open. That season forced him to ask for help, invest in coaching, and finally start building a business that didn't depend entirely on him being the hero in the Bay every day. Since then, he's built multiple locations, grown to a larger team, and just as importantly, become deeply focused on hiring for values, coachability, and culture, not just technical skill. In this episode, we're going to dig into how Shawn went from a kid in a tool truck family to owning multiple automotive businesses, why he believes not giving up and being coachable matter as much as technical ability, and what's working right now in hiring and team development, and how he's built a business around trust, training, and people who actually want to grow. Shawn, welcome to the Honest Garage Podcast. How you doing today, my friend?
Doing great, David. I appreciate you having me on the call today.
Good. Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and share your knowledge, man. So one of the things we ask everybody kind of when they come on the show, because we're all kind of car people here in this industry, what's that one car that really got you started, got you interested in the industry?
Starting back, the first car, like you had said in the intro, I got to help my dad restore a 1962 Corvette. And I'm talking like every nut and bolt off of this thing. The only thing about that is the only help that I was really providing was hand and wrenches, mostly the wrong size, maybe even causing probably more work for him than it would have had not been there. But my dad really kept me under his wing in the garage when I was a young boy. So it was a lot of fun. So
yeah, and
that was the beginning. I just didn't know it yet.
Yeah, way back in the beginning. And I think that's how a lot of us got started, was being a pain in the butt to our fathers. But I think as you and I are both parents now, the idea that we get to do that with our own kids is pretty cool stuff. You realize how important those moments are.
I'm sure.
I know in the prep call, we really covered a lot of ground, and we did in the opening as well. I want to have you kind of walk us through your journey and what finally pushed you to stop looking for the right shop in particular when you were at that time in your career, and why you decided to jump off and go and build it yourself.
Yeah, I think really bouncing through a couple of shops, whether chain shops, and I was in and out of a dealership really quick with the politics. It seemed like it had to have somebody on the board or lead in the building to get any decent work in there. And when I was at the Meineke was the first thing that really taught me what it looked like to work at a place that really gave a crap about the people coming through the door. And that was like my first job when I was young, working on cars for a profession. Yeah. And the owner at the time, his name is Jim Cogan. He's recently left us, and it was an honor to be able to actually go to his services. And I wrote almost a 2-page eulogy about what a difference he made in my life. And being able to share that with him, his family, and all those people still chokes me up now. The gentleman really landed me in a place where I knew how important it was to have a successful business and always be doing the right thing, even if it costs you out of your pocket, even if it costs your time. If you have to come in the middle of the night, show up for somebody that's just, it was like service with capital letters, right? And I was a young punk at that point in time. And I could say that my behavior in the environment, there was a couple guys in there like throwing wrenches around. And I guess that's the way it kind of was for me. But the way this man really coached me and empowered me to do things, every minute that we didn't have something to fix or a car to work on, he'd have us doing something. And I didn't realize that till later in life. But here, take those two pieces of scrap pipe over there, and I want you to weld them together with the rosebud torch and a coat hanger, and then put it in a bender and see how far you can get it to bend. Still to this day, nobody's been able to beat his. He was past 90 degrees with like coat. I was like, that's impossible. And he did it. One shot, bent the thing. And I'm like, all right. So now I had something to aim for. And he also created out of that alone that still sticks with me is he gave me a challenge knowing that I could always do better. And that one's still not beaten. Right. So, right. But I think the learning there was how the metal on both sides of what you're trying to put together melt. I've seen stuff come into the shop and it's up there and there's just booger welds all over the place. And you're like, holy crap. If I didn't have that training in the beginning of my career to understand what that was supposed to look like, that was it. So by me and my unfortunate at that point misbehavior, he also didn't allow BS. So it was funny how we got into it. And I said, you know what? I threw my tools down. I said, I'm leaving and taking my week's paid vacation starting right now. It was like 2:00 on a Tuesday. Take my uniform off. I'd throw my stuff in the bin and I'd leave. After that, I went and looked around. I did already have an opportunity to move all my stuff to the Midas. I think it was right up the street. And I'm thinking, he's really going to let me go. I'm going to wind up going into the competition and I'll get back at him. But in my mind, I was getting back at him. Really, I was the asshole. And then, so lo and behold, I got this offer and I went back, and just to be that little punk I walked in on Tuesday afternoon about 1:30, about a half hour before I was supposed to end my week's paid vacation. And I walk in the door, I go in the back, I put my brown shirt on, and I could tell everybody was looking at me like, the hell's he doing here? What the hell's he doing? He's putting his uniform on. And I kind of walk out, and he walks over. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, my week's paid vacation's up in about a half an hour. Your week's paid vacation was your last paycheck. And I was just like, oh. So not only did I kind of walk in and I made sure my uniforms were back, but he went and paid me for that last week. Not that he had to or I was entitled to. I walked off the job. Yeah. Looking back now, that really sent the message too, and taking the high road, right? No matter what. And the example he set was so, I'd say, top of the mountain for me. I just didn't know it until I wound up being the boss. Here we are a bunch of years later, right? But going to the Midas, there was guys in there that were trying to sabotage cars and poking holes in axle boots and saying, oh, your axle's leaking. It was like just some shady stuff going on. And I never agreed, but it was funny because I didn't do that. And I was the highest producer in that store, and they were paying us a percentage of what we got done. And I've got the techs that have been there a while. Hey, man, slow down. You're making us look bad. And it's why are you getting all the good work? And I hear this sometimes even in my own shop. Why does he get all the good jobs? He's got better eyes than you do. He's taking the time on those DVIs. He's making sure he's detailed. He's doing a really good job laying out, I call it the healthcare plan for the vehicle that's in front of him and in his care, right? Kind of looking at it from a medical perspective. And I bounced out of the Midas. They moved me to another one. I actually got into a fight with one of the guys over something. And at the time I had to be kickboxing. And this is a union shop, by the way. And this guy came at me a couple times. I was like, don't come at me again. I'm going to lay you out. And the guy come around and I roundhouse kicked him in the back of the neck and knocked the guy out cold. I thought I killed him. And that's when that boss kind of like, are you going to have to go to the other location because we can't have you here anymore. So then I ended up in a Midas, same thing. But this one up the street was just like, there was nothing to do. My base paycheck was like $450 a week in 1995, right? Yeah. And lo and behold, I'm getting 12% of my sales in a 6-day week. My top week over there with just under 15,000 in repairs. And that was back when the labor rate was still under $100, right? So I was hustling, and I knew how to make money by being efficient and doing the right thing. And I never found another place after that. And like I said, I bounced through a couple of dealerships and the politics there that at least the ones I experienced. And then a couple of private shops, even right down to a boss that would do unethical stuff too. We had this old gentleman that used to bring us coffee and stuff in the morning. He'd walk in, give us coffee. And at one point he totaled his older Toyota Camry. And when he came in with it totaled today, I need a new car. He ended up finding a newer Camry, about 100,000 miles on it. And my boss had already prepped him. It was going to need a timing belt, water pump. We'll check it out for him. And the car comes in, whatever later that week, and it comes up and my boss is looking at that one and he pulls the cover off and all the timing components, all brand new. You can see right down to the tensioner on old V6 Camrys. And he's like, hey, look, all this stuff's new. And the first thing I thought of was that, you know what? That's the kind of guy, he deserves that type of, you get what you put out. I believe that fully. This guy was so used to bringing the donuts, the coffee, he just came around to shoot the shit sometimes just because he was bored. And it was like a day or two later when the guy came to pick the car up. Yeah, we did brakes and stuff on it, maybe a tune-up or something. But I hear over my shoulder, he's billing the guy out, and he says, yeah, well, we did your brakes, we did the tune-up and the timing belt and the water pump, and charged the guy $1,800. Wow. And I did a double take at first, and I was just like, no, that did not just happen. That was the moment, huh? This is ridiculous. And not for nothing, this is a guy that went away on vacation for a couple weeks. I cleaned the entire shop, floors, pressure washed. The place was spotless. It was a pigsty. Even though I was working there, my bay was always the cleanest. He comes back from vacation. I raised the labor rate $10, expecting to maybe get $5 an hour just on the labor that I produced. And I knew I was crushing it. Mm-hmm. And nope, not even a thank you. Maybe a thank you, but not, oh my God, this place looks great, was what I was expecting. Yeah. Another thing for me to maybe we touch base later on is that expectation I have of myself and what I expect people to see the value in what I do. And when they don't, I'm out. Huh. And at that moment, I was like, I really got to find a place to do this on my own. And it was to the point at his shop where people were calling me, he'd answer and they'd ask for me because they want to talk to me because not for nothing, he wasn't that nice to talk to. That's what really triggered me to start looking.
What is it that you wanted to be different in your shop? What are those things that really stood out to you when you were making that transition, that you drew the line in the sand and you said, we're going to operate this way?
I don't care what environment you're in. If there's stuff that it doesn't line up with ethics, at least where I was standing, I don't want to be a part of it. And not only for myself selfishly, but I know that not for nothing, everything that you put your focus on will always multiply. And if I'm sitting there pissed off that he's doing this kind of crap and won't give me a raise, I'm in my head all day long. I can't focus. I might even screw up a repair, right? Because I'm just angry. I don't want to deal with that. And I said, the hell with this shit. I can't find a place. I might as well create my own environment where I know that I can bring to it what I want. And then on the consumer side, it really sucks for our industry as a whole. We have a bad rap. I don't care who you talk to. There's people, if they don't know about automotive or they're not guided, and we try to do everything to educate our clients. Look, it's up to you if you want to fix your car or not. We're not here to force you to. But we do get more opportunities when people choose not to go down the road that we suggest, that we get that opportunity, not in a nasty way, but remember that conversation we had? And no, I told you a bit more. What did we learn from this? Shift the polarity on it. Because the villain side of me wants to be like, told you. But it ain't about that either, right? But there's a lot of people with that mindset. If you don't want to listen to me, screw them. I don't tend to shift my energy in that, folks. You know what? That's up to you. I get it. If you don't understand, we can explain more and whatnot. But that's what shifted it and had me want to do my own.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think that I want to fast forward just a little bit because we covered something in the prep call that I know some of the other listeners out there have probably dealt with in this industry, especially. Your body's kind of your livelihood when you're first getting started, and you had that big injury on the quad. Mm-hmm. And I think you said 3 weeks in the hospital, months laid up in bed. It's relatively early on in your business. You had your brother step in. I remember you saying, what was that the time really where you changed from the business owner you were to the mindset that helped you become the business owner that you are now?
I would say after some really hard attempts to surpass or overcome that injury and be on the floor, I fought it like crazy because I think the biggest thing at that point is I was the guy. I was the best tech in the store. Stuff come in, I'd have to figure it all out. And I think after some time of the pain of the ankle, I worked, it was a long time. I was out for almost 6 weeks between the two surgeries. One day I had to put one of those things that hang out of my leg in, and 20 screws, 3 plates. Maybe I'll send you an x-ray. You can throw it up on the discreet or something. But it is a mess in there. It looks like an erector set. My surgeon said, what do you do for a living? I said, I'm a mechanic. He's like, yeah, you're going to have to change professions. And that was another thing in my head. I'm like, screw you, watch this, right? Nothing's going to stop me. Worked out of the wheelchair. The wheelchair, when I had to return it at the end, they didn't take it back. I got charged for it. I had holes drilled in the side, like trays built on and bolted up, exhaust hangers to hold my air gun. I did drop quite a few parts coming off the car and landed on my leg. And that hurt. And where I did my paperwork in the first store, it was like up a set of steps that my neighbor made railings made, but it was more like a ladder. So you should see me trying to get up that with crutches and hobble up the stairs just to go and do the paperwork every week. But it took me almost a year and a half to realize that this is not going to work. So I broke my leg on June 2nd of 2005, just about 2 years and a little bit into the business. My brother, the carpenter, nails and 2x4s don't fix cars, but he did a bang up job keeping the place alive and working with me over the phone. And that was about 6 months that I was at home with my foot elevated because it just would blow up like a balloon. I couldn't keep it down or get infected. When I got back in the wheelchair and fast forward 6 months, that's when I said, I can't keep going this way. I can't make the money I want. And I need to figure out how to be able to support my family. So at this point, I just found out while I broke my leg that I'm pregnant with my first daughter. And I had bought a Jeep Wrangler for roughly around $15,000. And I was supposed to send my title in to Capital One Auto Finance. And I went away to a weekend workshop with one of the coaching companies out there. And, they're like, well, in order to do our 6-month program, it's $12,000. And I'm thinking to myself, like, where the hell am I going to come up with $12,000? But I need to figure out how to run the business.
Yeah.
And so I came home. I found somebody to buy the Jeep before I sent the title into Capital One Auto Finance. I signed it back and gave it to them. And then Capital One Auto Finance, they hounded me for months to get that title. And finally, I wrote them a letter, sent it in the envelope that the title was supposed to go, and said, dear whom it may concern, I had a medical emergency. I had to utilize this money, sell the Jeep. I'm not going to be driving to educate myself, and I promise I'll make every payment. And after that, I didn't get any more notices, and I kept going. I think it was like $286 a month I was paying for that truck, but it was a 5-year loan to put myself through a 6-month program, right?
Yeah.
And that's when I really started to understand the machine as a business. Now, you did say earlier, both of my parents were in their own. I was able to get some help from them. And even some of my dad's great customers in the industry, there's quite a few local shops that having him as a tool guy, I had a lot of great relationships with some of the shops. Some of the shit I couldn't figure out, I'd have somebody to call and go to. So I had a lot of resources. Yeah. And that's where I said, we got to change. And we started hiring more people and figuring out how to make it work.
That hiring piece is something I know you're real passionate about. You were really clear during the prep call that time really helped you learn how to hire better, not just technically competent people, but hiring better people who wanted to learn and be a part of what you were building. Yep. Talk to me about what it is that you were looking for in hiring before versus what you're looking for now, and what your focus is so that you're building a business so that you don't have to touch the cars.
Yeah. So early on, I was just trying to find somebody else that would be good at diagnosing stuff so I didn't have to drop what I was doing to go help them figure out what's wrong with the cars, right? I need to spend some time working on the business. And I did get bounced back in and a couple bad hires. And like I said, I had a lot of practice at hiring. I was always hiring for the technical skills. The issue is I didn't really have anything to test those except for, okay, you're hired. Let me see what you got. And then 2 weeks in, you're like, you're out next. And some of the, I would say, the way that some of those interactions were when I was just like, you don't know what the hell you're doing. I was really not handling it well. I was kind of like handling it like I did at some of the other shops, or some of my bosses were just like, you know what? You suck. Get out of here. I'll find somebody else. You just cost me $1,000. Get the hell out of here. Or Mrs. Jones is pissed off because you left her tire loose and her freaking wheel fell off coming out the things. Jesus. Yeah, I was just trying to fill the void that was there. And I'd say hire by trial by fire, right?
So what's working now?
There's a couple things that we really have in place. One of the things, just to really sum it up, is we hire very slow. Sometimes to the point where we've lost a couple good candidates to somebody else because we didn't have an offer within a couple days of when they came in to interview.
Okay.
But we miraculously go through our expectations, our core values. We also do basic assessment tests, which some people think are a little awkward, but kind of dives in a little bit. You're asking questions about different stuff and how you'd handle things. But I see now that the more we focus on somebody's EQ or their ability to manage their own emotions, where I was definitely not good at it early on. And it's something that I took a study to, liking to study myself and other people. Some of the assessments, actually one of my biggest strengths that's carried on through the past 15 years in the Strength Finders by Tom Rath is individualization. I can see the unique traits and qualities in people and know how to put them in the right box with the other guy that's going to make the fit. or gal, right?
Yeah.
That's been something that I didn't utilize as much as I could have that we do now.
Yeah. And I think that it's important to understand for anybody out there listening that the technical work is still being done at your shop. Your shop is getting great reviews, great ratings. Customers are satisfied. It's not like you threw the baby out with the bathwater and you stopped hiring for technical ability at all. What prioritization level are you giving like good cultural fit, good people skills? I want to be a part of what you're building versus I can actually do the job and fix the cars.
It depends on the level of technician we're looking for, right? We got the two different shops.
Yeah.
The other thing that was behind really that the maintenance center is really an opportunity for a solid tech to be able to solve problems or really recognize when, hey, you know what, the diagnostic's going to go a little deep on this one. Pass it along to the other store. Let's get it scheduled, get it delivered over there, and transfer the customer so they know they got us on both sides. And we're very transparent about our pricing also, because our heavy line shop, it costs more. So do the techs. So the labor rate's higher. The maintenance center, we do suspension, brakes, stuff like that, but it's a more of a training opportunity or a training ground for our techs to become more of a leader and for them also to train young guys in the industry, which I think as a whole, our industry is doing a better job now in the last couple of years than they have done over time. We got a lot of people retiring, a lot of people getting old. And I think the biggest hurdle for the young technicians to come in, male or female, there's some great female techs out there. And I think it's awesome that they're jumping into our industry because not for nothing, I think they pay more attention to detail than most of us men across the board in all aspects of life, let's say. But that's a high level thing to have as a technician or even a service advisor to make sure you're buttoning up the repair and making sure everything's T's are crossed, I's are dotted. It's like tying it all together it depends on what we're looking for, right? Somebody that's out there that knows how to fix cars, that's got some experience, they can say that and I'll believe it. And we've got these little, have you ever heard of that Wiseman aptitude test? It's got some stupid little questions on it or whatnot, but you'd be surprised how many people look at a salt shaker that has 8 holes on the top, 8 holes on the top of the other one, but they're in different shapes. And one look like it has more salt's going to come out. And it's like they both dump the same amount of salt. This one looks like it is, and somebody will circle, hey, that one dumps more. Or which boat is heavier and it's deeper in the water. And it's, I don't know, the one with more metal that's above the waters. When they ask the questions, how'd you come up with that answer? There's more metal on this boat, but they're not thinking that the boat's underwater and carrying all the weight with it, right? So it's, I hate to say it, but if you don't have that type of thinking for a technician anyway, and even not for nothing, service advisors got to be strategic nowadays too. It's like we're doing our best to educate people on how to make their car last. We've got a pretty good in-depth training program for our advisors to kind of challenge people that, I'm just going to trade it in. Cool. How much is a new car? Here, you know what? Let me send you this little packet on what it looks like to buy a new car. If you're rolling your negative equity in, and next thing you know, you got a $900 a month payment for the next 6 years or 7 years, depending on how much negative equity you're rolling. It's look, this thing's only cost you like $3,500 a year to maintain.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? That's, let's say 4 months out of 12 months worth of payments. Take that 9 months worth of payments, at least for the next year, and stuff it in a savings account towards a new car or to pay this one off. And it's like, a lot of times people don't look at that from a strategy standpoint, but then having the technicians behind the scenes, making sure that they're medically looking at this thing health-wise to give good advice. Because here's the thing, you give some advice and somebody spends $2-3 to get their car in good shape, and your technician misses a rotted out subframe that you go, oh, by the way, we just got all this done and noticed there's this big hole and your right front wheel's about to fall off. And it's just like, dude, how'd you miss that?
Yeah.
But that would be one of those things where I said earlier, it's like, you do the right thing. Guess what? We got a subframe out of the freaking scrap yard up the street that's in good shape for a few $100, and we rally the troops. We throw the techs on it. Nobody gets paid. We learn from it. And hey, guys, let's make sure our DVI process doesn't break down like that again, because that's totally on them. But holding them accountable in a way that doesn't beat them down, because I've chased people out of my business doing that too, right? And we're talking about hiring. So sorry for the wormhole there.
No, it's great. What I have next for you is that I know that you've been through a lot with business pressure, the injury, bad hires, debt, divorce. We covered a lot on the prep call. What I want to do is really kind of open the floor for you to give some advice for somebody who's sitting across the table, or in this case, across the mic or the speakers from you, and give you the opportunity to share advice for the people that are out there feeling overwhelmed or frustrated or wondering if they're cut out for this. What would you want them to get out of your story?
Whew. I think the thing that's been driving me the entire way from a little guy to where I am today is having a definite purpose in life that aligns with your values. And if that fits into what you're doing, go for it. And if it doesn't fit, do something else.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I've networked quite a bit over the last handful of years and all the industry conferences and stuff. And man, to just see some of the owners that are just beat down out there, that are just not getting through the other end of the eye of the needle, bring it back to your purpose and you'll go right through the needle. You got to simplify and stop worrying about the small stuff. And I think, I can't tell you how many times I've heard, work on your business, not in it. If you own the business, there's no, you have doing all the work. Because I would call that not an asset. It's more of a job with extra paperwork and worse hours. You know what I mean? And not for nothing, a lot of that ties back to my experience with that. Part of the reason that I ended up having to go through a divorce, I was never home. I was always aggravated. I wasn't bringing home enough money. I was having a hard time hiring, and I wasn't true to myself in that time with realizing, look, I just got to hire people and get them to do what they need to do. I look at technicians like an asset. If a technician comes into your business and isn't making you money and himself plenty of money, he's probably not, or she's probably not the right person.
Yeah.
Every single person in our organization, they know what their worth is. And if they get more productivity and more work through the door, they make more money. It's that simple. And there's a lot of shops out there that think they got to pay salary. And guess what? You're paying a salary, let's say $2,000 a week, but you're only getting 20 hours a week out of your 40 hours. You really want to look at it. You're paying that guy $4,000 a week for 40 hours.
Yeah.
You're really losing on it. Really. You're only making 20 hours for $2,000. You're paying a guy $100 an hour. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And there's so many people out there that if they're busy, stuck doing the work, they're not focused on understanding their KPIs, understanding the little things that you can shift and move to shift those and turn it into profit, right? And I think the other thing is when you get those good people in your organization, get the hell out of their way. Teach them, coach them. I tend not to even tell them what to do anymore. I know that was something, looking back, I look in the mirror, don't tell me what to do. Especially if I think it's supposed to be done that way, I'm going to do it my way, whether I learn the hard way or not, right? I don't tell people what to do. I kind of, hey, if I was in your shoes, I might try this, but
I think one of the things that really stands out to me just listening to you kind of recount and share your advice here is, as business owners, we tend to be a little bit more ego driven. I think when we first get started, we like being the guy. We like being the person that has all the answers to all the problems. Talk to me real quick, if you can, about how you had that mindset shift and what it was that changed for you to where you started realizing that being the guy meant being the guy who ran a successful business, not the guy who did everything in the shop day to day.
Yeah, that's a really easy one to sum up. And there's tons of, observable evidence that I could spew out. It was not for nothing. Look at a sports team and you got one really good player on the team. What do those other players feel like? Never good enough.
Not involved.
Yeah, not involved. Well, all of that, right? So I think the biggest thing for me was I had to humble myself. Like you said, the ego. Stop being the best player on the team because there's no I in team, right? And put your focus on developing your people to all almost kind of play to all be the best, and not the best against each other, but to get the best with each other. Like, how do we all become the best and aim for that? Maslow hierarchy needs, like that self-actualization. How do I become the best at what I'm doing? Right. And I think I've shifted, and like you're pointing at is I've shifted way over into more of a coach role to my business than I am the boss. Even my managers, he's got it. I kind of sometimes got a question like, hey, why didn't we take care of that $1,000 training program for one of our technicians to go through inspector license trainings? I didn't see it was in the budget. And I'm like, yeah, but we set this up weeks ago. We're getting reimbursed for that. He's, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But I found out from the guy that I set the whole reimbursement thing up through our state and county program. The workforce development, also, just a side note, any of you out there for training, I know it's expensive. I know it's like sending people out of your shop. It feels like it's going to cost you money. It always will multiply and amplify their buy-in and their efforts to give back to you in return for what you put out for them as far as training. When you better your team and you make them superstars, they just keep going for it, and they look for opportunities to show up.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things we ask everybody that comes on the show, and I just want to ask you as well, we're big on the word honest here. Honest Garage, Honest Mechanic Marketing, for everybody out there that listens knows I own that company. When you hear that phrase, honest mechanic, honest garage, honest shop, what does that really mean for you? What does that mean in the way that your businesses operate?
When I hear it in that context, it's like transparency. DVIs has changed the game for us. If you do really good ones and being able to be transparent, it takes all the guess out of it. Hey, what is that? Here, let me show you a picture or a video of something loose, right? This is why. When I hear the word honest, for me personally, always be honest with yourself and your thoughts. Because I truly believe that each one of us, I believe all of us as human beings have, if you look back to cartoon days with Tom and Jerry and you got the angel on one side of your shoulder and the devil on the other, there's always some positive thought that's inspiring you to go for it. And then there's something else that comes in, whether it's your voice in your own head or, that friend of yours down the street says, oh, that'll never work. Those people are out there to drive you forward. And that ties back to what's your definite purpose. And my definite purpose is to be of service, not to just across the board to everybody, to myself, to my family, to our employees, to our clients that come in and get their cars serviced. And even to the point where it's, hey, somebody came in on Saturday, calls me up on the phone. Oh my God, something's falling underneath my car. I happen to be right by the shop. Stop over and put it up in the air. There's a stupid thing hanging out of her tires, making all kinds of noise. I plug the tire, send her on her way. It's just be of service to everybody in life. And life works. And the part that I just want to exclamation point, being of service, there's been plenty of times in my life where I feel like I'm doing so much for everybody else and I'm not getting anything back in return. I want to let you know that for me, that always seemed to be right at that breaking point where something awesome's about to happen to you. And if you accidentally take your eye off the service part and go, you know what? I'm not helping that guy anymore. And not to just specifically one person as that goes, like I always help this one person and they never help me back. It's like by me helping that one person, 10 other people are going to come back and help me at some point. And it's always building equity and interest on what is going to show up for you in your life. And that's just something I believe in my heart. So I wanted to share that as advice because that's made probably one of the biggest differences in where we are today is believing that no matter what, no matter how much service you put out, or unequal you feel in that equitable comparison, if you need to, don't compare it. Just keep doing it. And man, opportunities just keep showing up almost to the point where there's too many to take on and you don't even know what to do with them all. And then it becomes an organization problem. How do we do it all?
With that idea of be of service, I love that as your purpose. One of the things we're really big on with this show, and that's come organically through the show, is this idea of community and connection. And for anybody out there, we're just scratching the surface on a lot of this stuff. For anybody listening, I've known Shawn for a little while now, and he can talk and he enjoys to talk about all of this stuff in more detail than we have time to get into in a single episode. Shawn, what's the best way for people to connect with you and to dig deeper and get involved with Automotive Magic or Magic Lube and Rubber or anything you've got going on?
Yeah, I would say my team does a really good job at keeping incoming calls at the shop off my back. I've got a small little boutique coaching company that I started. And I actually, as I said earlier, I coach my own shops. I also charge my shops a consulting fee as my income, right? So that's how I've started to tie this together. But you can email me at Shawn, SHAWN, at magicalsolutionsgroup.com. And if you want to throw my contact info and even my cell phone number, I get plenty of spam calls. So if I'd prefer you shoot me a text if that's the case, but my cell phone is 973-479-2200. I'm open for conversations, and I just love anything I can do to empower, help, and be of service to anyone in our industry and the world. Please feel free to reach out anytime, and we'll get something locked up for you.
Yeah,
thanks.
That's fantastic and incredibly gracious. I think for our listeners out there, take him up on it. Really, he's a wealth of knowledge. He has a lot of experience, and with his small coaching company that he's starting up, he has the skills and the background to actually share the knowledge in an effective way. So if you're on the fence at all, I just encourage you to reach out to Shawn. Shawn, I want to say just huge thank you for being on the show with us today and for sharing the knowledge that you've got and taking the time to talk with everybody today.
You're absolutely welcome. Another just a quick plug. We just recently created, after leaving a coaching company, had a book club going. They canceled it. A few of me and some other shop owners are networked together. We just started our own book club. So we're scheduling out about 2 years worth of reading, and it's going to be Tuesday mornings, 9:30 to 10:30. And we're going to be filling the room until it gets too out of control to add more people. So if that's something you're interested in too, please feel free. Same thing, reach out and let me know, and we'll get you on the reading list.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And if you're out there and you're listening, you got value from today's conversation, you can obviously reach out to Shawn. You got value from the show in general, please the show, follow the show, subscribe, do all the podcast things, leave us a review. We appreciate it. It helps other shop owners find us, helps us continue to do what we feel like our purpose is, which is to go and support this industry and support shop owners as they look to take that next step in their growth. For marketing resources, you can always reach out to us at honestmechanicmarketing.com. Be happy to have that conversation with you as well. But yeah, one more big thanks for Shawn, and big thanks out there to all of our listeners who allow us to keep doing this. And as always, everybody, keep it honest in the garage.
What we train in our training is so much more advanced than that. And we teach them how to remove high voltage components, check for insulation, how to completely dissect a high voltage battery. Most shops today will never be there. And it'll be a while before they do that. Do they need high voltage gloves? It's not a bad idea to have a pair. One of the first things that this shop did that I kind of talked about is they made sure that their racks could lift these heavier vehicles. And that was one of their first big investments. They made sure that they could do that before they even brought a vehicle in.